What's up, gamers? With patch 3 on the horizon and patch 2 in our rear view mirror, gamers are talking about two different pieces of the puzzle here. Where is the content and performance based issues? And so that's what this video is going to focus in on, because the devs have this morning shared with us some big plans and when we might see content actually drop. And there's really good news here, because it's going to be sooner than we all expected, especially my original estimates. But I want to open up with this video on the focus and on performance. I'm seeing multiple conflicting reports from different users talking about how performance has hurt this game. This patch number 2 has hurt the game, and or they actually see various improvements with the overall performance. And then you still have people saying that they run on less hardware than is recommended, but they're still not seeing performance issues. The good news here is what Jeremy writes on Discord. Mike is going to be reaching out to anyone who has will make a tracker to see sure that we can reach out to each and every one of you and get to the bottom of these performance issues that you're seeing, and we won't stop until we figure this out. This in and of itself is like, I have two minds of it. A, I'm glad that they're taking this level of effort, but B, this is also one of the reasons why there are so many console gamers wary of PC gaming. Performance issues, driver issues. Speaking of which, guys, there is a brand new driver for NVIDIA that will help address the game. So maybe if you are still having performance issues with the patch number 2, make sure your driver is up to date and see if that helps improve it. But get involved in the Discord. Make sure that you can put your information there, and the devs are going to work to figure out what that issue might be. But all that being said, before we dive into Thomas's latest revelations about the content that's coming and when we should expect it, thank you guys so much for taking a chance on my channel. I love saying thank you to all the new subs, and if you guys feel like I earn your sub with any of my videos and content, sound off in the comments. Let me welcome you officially to the channel, and thank you guys so much for the like support on these videos, rocking it at 96.2% like ratio, which is really great to see. It's always exciting, so thank you guys so much for that support. But let's dive into why you clicked on the video in the first place, and that is Thomas's giving us content updates, when we can expect to see what they're working on behind the scenes, and from a developer's perspective, my interpretation of his words, and we're going to put some time estimates on it. So, all right, let's say he says, all right, folks, let's discuss content updates and how we're going to go about this stuff. We initially had an entire first month after launch pegged as fixes and patches as a period, since it was foreseeable that we'd need to fix bugs and react to the community, and a lot right after the launch. Reflecting on this month since launch, I think we've done quite a well job in that regards. But we've also been busy since launching, working in the background on a bunch of the stuff that we had to cut just to make sure the early access release. So the most obvious step regarding content was to first deliver on the final version of the content that didn't make it for release. As you've probably already noticed, areas like Nameless Pass and the Black Trench were initially cut short a bit, so that with the upcoming patches, you'll see content updates to all the areas that you've already been playing through, so that they reflect the original version, and so that those areas have even more meat on their bones. We've been working on adding even more depth to these areas that actually goes way beyond the original plan, and we're going to be working on new caverns and places that are holed in darkness and lead to new challenges, and things to farm trapdoors that can be opened and led to entirely new sections. Now, Brian jumping in here, when he talks about these dark caverns, this is building off a previous message about how they added in torches, and there's going to be some kind of gameplay element for the torches as well. They also talked in yesterday's video about pipes coming in as an offhand weapon, so I'm really happy to see them experimenting with so much interesting use of light and also combat changes, and how that kind of plays out in the long run. He continues, the goal with this stuff is not just to provide more space, but also to introduce new gameplay loops, so that you'll always have places in Isella Sacra pegged as, I'm going to go to X and I'm going to get a bunch of Y. Now, at the same time, we've already announced during our Wicked Inside showcase that one of the first major content updates that they're going to introduce is the Breach, which adds another 2 large, fully featured areas to Wicked. The Marion Woods and the Lowland Meadows, a ton of work has already been put into those areas. We even teased those areas already during the Wicked Inside, and those will dramatically increase the scope of Wicked already. And these areas will also unlock all of our tier 4 gear, so that way you'll be able to craft entirely new builds. At the same time, we'll also see a ton of value in our Crucible. What we shipped was really only a tease of what's to come. The ultimate goal for the Crucible is to turn that section into a roguelite that would basically get you the same kick that you get from games like Hades, Dead Cells, etc. But since we already have a ton of our systems in place, I think that we can do it all in all kinds of things you don't usually see in other roguelikes. We can feature intricate levels that bring a ton of verticality into play, feature deeper combat mechanics, and allow you to play those sections with your friends in multiplayer, and introduce new Crucible statues that offer entirely new ways to play Wicked. That makes me think, this is Brian jumping in, like sacrificing something or using something that applies augments and either increases the challenges, increases the rewards. That's what that kind of makes me think of, but I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have any other ideas based off of that line alone. He continues, we want to play the Crucible with the character that you've been playing so far, being the base. But with every section you clear, our plan is that you can pick from a boon to go through completing the various sections, that you basically created a class on top of your current class that would hopefully allow you to defeat the boss and get the rewards in the end. Basically, our goal with the Crucible is to let you get satisfaction you normally get from playing an ARPG for 30 to 40 hours within a shorter period of time. So ultimately, you can have your normal RPG experience in Wicked, and then you can build out your character and the world over a longer period of time, while also featuring a section that will allow for super exciting, insanely fun 15 to 20 minute runs that will give you that full RPG kick, but with a more condensed form. Makes me think of this, Brian jumping in again. I'm thinking espresso in this regards. Yeah, it's a more powerful kick than normal coffee. I don't know why my brain went there. It's weird sometimes. Anyway, they continue. I think all the stuff is insanely exciting and should give players countless hours of fun on top. With all of that, we have also always wanted to keep an eye towards our end goal of shipping our 1.0 release. We've been analyzing exactly what we still need to change on more systematic levels in order to reach that. So far, that we've only found one big heart surgery change design wise that we think is necessary, but the ultimate goal with 1.0 is to get as close to the final version of Wicked as possible, and hopefully at that point we're going to have crafted one of the most exciting ARPGs in recent years, and that's going to feel like a game that our small team shouldn't have been able to make. Now, what I read by this, when he says heart surgery, I'm translating that as a major lift, a major rework of a specific system. When you make changes like that, you are changing a foundational level of the game. This is the right time to do that because of the size of the community. You don't have to worry about really upsetting a bunch of people. You will, no matter what, when you make changes. Change inevitably has the reaction of, I don't like this. Okay, this is fine. Oh, this is actually really good, and etc. It's the change curve acceptance graph, if you will. So on that note, heart surgery. Okay, what does this mean time-wise? Immediately, I think 9 to 12 months of work to truly have this done, because if it has knock-on effects of different systems, that work is going to just take a surgical level amount of time. And the good news is this is the right time to do it. If the game was out in a 1.0 state and they're like, oh, we got to go back to heart surgery, it's going to be even harder because you have to juggle so many other things when it comes to development versus production, from a early access, beta, so to speak, into the full release. So time-wise, that's the mental math that I'm working on right now, because gaming is also a little bit different from what I do in terms of app development, even though I am working on my own game, and more to come on that. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'm really excited. I'm enjoying the process. But all that being said is that that's something that tells me that if at a minimum, if you're out there asking about a console release, This probably is going to be a 2025 release game for you. And outside of that, I'll keep you guys up to date on any changes in timing and direction as things progress. Anyway, Thomas continues. And I'll leave you with one more sneak peek behind the scenes. Let's quickly bring up the plague system. Right now, the system is set to static, meaning new states unlock statistically as the player progresses through the realm. The goal here, the end goal here is to flip the switch on our plague system so that it's dynamic and that the Isle of Sacra will always be alive. New states get enabled dramatically and enemy levels increasing so that the world evolves just as your character evolves, introducing all new challenges and rewards throughout all of Isla Sacra. Right now, there is a clear end state that can be reached, but ultimately, there should never be a point in which that you find any new challenge anymore. Every day you'll dive into Sacra and you should never quite know what to expect. And there's a lot of work still ahead of us, but I hope that this mammoth breakdown gives you some clarity on where we're headed. I got a lot of good stuff out of that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. Now we've got a focus on a community discussion here today. This is going to be focusing on y'all's thoughts on the game itself. And then we're going to end with our message of hope for the video. First and foremost, Dark kicks us off. He says, I played a bit after the recent patch and it seemed good. I'm going to hold off on playing more until they add in additional content though. That's the right mindset. There's nothing wrong with checking out the game and going and playing something else. In fact, that's a very healthy approach. I think you're going to end up seeing Dark very satisfied with the experience that they have, them being able to kind of check it out and see what's going on, and then essentially go play something else until there is that addition of content, which Thomas is teasing and talking about. Ultimately, I'd estimate based off of his words alone and adding in the stuff that didn't make it to early access, that's what we're going to see roll out in the next couple of patches. And right now I'm estimating they're on kind of a 2-week patch cycle minus the basic 1 week miss from here. So I would expect that in early June, we might start to see that come into fruition with new weapons and maybe some area upgrades. And then essentially into late June, we'll see probably kind of more fulfillment of that original vision. Anyway, Skip says they did a great job of polishing and they have and not rushing out more content. Yes, I think though there is the demand and hunger for new content. I know for myself, I've put and this isn't going to, be a large number in comparison to some of the guys that I've been hanging out with on the live streams, but I've got over 65 hours coming up in that 70-hour range. And that's incredible for me as a father of 6. And, as we've got lots of things going on, especially with the end of year, end of school kind of mindset. So that being said is that, yeah, I'm glad they're also releasing polished experiences rather than rushed experiences, because that's going to build, in my mind, more trust, even though there will no matter what be gamers who are ultimately disappointed. They want more. Gamers have always wanted more content that developers can deliver in a set period of time. See, Gergman says, do we have any idea of how big the final game will be? I mean, I heard that they will have a first act. How many acts will there be? Most likely. So when we talk about first acts, there's acts within this specific story, but when we talk about final game, they talk about this as kind of their Lord of the Rings, and this and 1.0 will be the Fellowship of the Ring. So ultimately, I think this is going to be a rather substantial and large game, so to speak, when the final is done. When will that final be? Most likely throughout the rest of the 2020 decade, so to speak. Depends on how quickly they want to turn out, their 2 towers and then the Return of the King, for example. Now, 1.0 though, I feel like it's going to have a pretty massive scope. It's going to be focused in on just the Isle of Sacra, but we do know, and they've already confirmed, that they have plans to take us off of this and into the mainland as well. So there's plenty of space to grow, and there's plenty of places to go, but all of 1.0 should be the island in and of itself, and that's going to give us plenty of things to do, and I can't wait to experience it. So that's the I wish I could say that it was going to be X amount of hours to play or whatnot. We just don't know those numbers. People have put in hundreds and hundreds of hours already into the current version, which tells me there's something really good about what we have going on. But at the same time, when it's all said and done, you want a game that you can beat for the most part. I'm actually thinking about playing Hellblade 2 because I hear it's actually a short game, and I'm like, oh, that might be kind of a fun experience, never having played Hellblade before. Now, Azarin Jabberwock writes, this patch was massive and in a specific player case left me both in awe at the size and speechless by the lack of notable additions that would have even remotely motivated me to log back in. As a player who has no performance issues, that cleared all the content but the knight, and with a refined level 22 infinite focus bow build well planned enough to not need any respec, it's like they didn't even patch it in my eyes. I'm not going to invest another 10 hours into running the Crucible until I get to level 30 and upgrade all my armor to heavy just so I get an unrewarding, purposefully unbalanced boss kill. Guess I'll have to wait for several months to get the exact the next chapters of the story. Edit. Oh, I almost forgot. I loathe multiplayer in any game, so that the perspective that all the efforts in the near future will be devoted to implementing such a feature into the game does nothing but tell me that I'll have to wait for possibly years for a shred of playable content to be added. I hope I'm truly am I truly done with the game for the foreseeable future, I wonder? Will I see an end to the campaign by 2026? I can only hope. And there's nothing wrong if you don't like multiplayer. There's nothing wrong with being, wanting more out of this game. But this is just a good highlight of, hey, you checked the game out, you're interested in it. Now go find some other things to kind of, take that kind of distraction away. The beautiful thing is last year alone, my backlog for video games is massive, and there's a lot of things that I haven't got around to playing yet, so I'm excited to do that. But just note that if you're feeling like Azen here, that's going to be a very good, healthy thing for you to do. User writes, nerfing a playstyle is a thing that will kill absolute interest in this game. At first I was in love with this game, then they nerfed the mindset of the devs, ruining my fun, and I haven't played it since hotfix number 6. And yes, we see this happen a lot. For me personally, I never seem to get upset about nerfs or buffs because it's just a change. These games are built around change. I go in with a mindset that these things will change. So that's just kind of where I fall on it. But again, like if you're getting frustrated, there's time, away, or that, fun, like missing something helps kind of remind you of what else is out there. And having played a couple of other ARPGs, I can tell you that this game hits way differently. 7 writes, the respec cost is fine with the embers. However, I would like it to be a guaranteed ember drop from the Echo Knight as a reward from the chest. And I was going to say, getting embers in this game obviously is RNG based. I wouldn't be against a guaranteed way that's obviously locked behind the Echo Knight. But beyond that aspect, I think that one of the things that this tells me is that I need to focus in on some guides, because there's definitely players coming into the game still that might not know the value of those embers, and the embers increase dramatically in their value with this latest patch. So it's really exciting to see. Now, that's it for community discussion. Let's dive into our message of hope. If you guys are new to the channel, I really want you to take care of your mental health, but also your physical health, and so much about your life, kind of to take charge of it. So let's talk about that. Don't let perfection be the enemy of the good, because then you'll never really do good things with your life. Maybe you will a little bit, but if you constantly lock yourself into analysis paralysis, the results you're more likely to get are regret with enough time applied to that equation. It's also important to say that there's nothing wrong with making a plan, thinking through how you want to proceed and what you want to do with your life, but plans require action applied to them, and it's perfectly okay to start something and get data and feedback and then change your plans to adjust to the new information that you've received. You can learn a lot from your failures if you choose to. You are stronger than you realize, and when you suffer, and you will suffer, it's gonna make you more human in the end. Let that suffering be something that refines you rather than defines you. Seek help. Asking for help in your process is a sign of strength, and some of the best advice that I got as a young man was, if you want to be successful at something, look to those who are successful and study what they do and ask them how they did it. For example, if you ask most millionaires how they made their money, they're going to tell you it was hard, but they didn't have any debt and they paid off their house early and then they invested in the future. If you have debt, that's a winnable goal. I personally paid off $100,000 of debt. And yes, it was hard. And yes, it sucked. And I worked more than I have ever in my life, but we did it. Now we're working on actually paying off our house early, and hopefully within the next 5 years, that will be a reality. That is where I am at. The thing that this one change that you can make not being in debt has given me so much freedom to take more risks. And that thing is that actually might be what's holding you back, is that you haven't been able to make a budget or telling yourself to wait on buying something. And I get it. I was there myself. But I can tell you, while living debt-free, it means that I don't take a lot of nice vacations yet. But at some point, I'm going to take some really, really nice vacations later. And that's what keeps me motivated to live this life, different from what other people, even my own parents, have chosen to do. Now, for me, I followed the Dave Ramsey plan. I think that's something that can be a very value for a lot of people. Not everybody needs to follow Dave's plan. Not everybody likes what Dave has to say in that regards. But if you've never given the man a chance, if you never tried his program, well, honestly, I think you're missing out. Again, he helped me get out of debt, and he taught me the skills to be able to pay off $100,000 of debt. It actually wasn't a math problem. It was a me problem. It was me learning to tell myself to wait rather than yes all the time. And working with my wife on a budget has given us the tools to take the income that I'm able to produce and magnify it and give it purpose and direction. That got us out of debt. And what you find is that when you live a debt-free life, you might actually make even more money in the long run, because companies kind of like it if you're in debt, because then they have leverage over you. If you don't owe anybody any money, you have leverage over them. And what that means is that you get paid more. It's a weird system, but that's just the world that we live in. Anyway, guys, I hope you got something good out of this message. I hope you got something good out of this video. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, you are truly magnificent. And let me know if you did. We sound off in the comments with Hootie Hoot as the secret call out in today's video. Outside of that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. Shout out to the members. Shout out to all the people who hit that like button. And thank you guys so much for the support and the content. For Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. Thank you for your time today, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care.